Zillow economists just updated their 12-month housing prediction right here for the United States, and it's not all that good. They predicted that home prices are likely to fall by 1% from June 2025 through June 2026. On top of that, they also predicted that within the calendar year of 2025, they'll see home prices down by 2%. That's for all the United States, but what does that mean for San Diego? Let's get into that right now. And in this article from Resi Club, they said, heading into 2025, Zillow's 12-month forecast for the U.S. home price was plus 2.6%, so a modest gain. However, many housing markets across the country softened faster than expected, prompting Zillow to issue several downward revisions. Now, while Zillow has stopped cutting its outlook, it's still kind of mildly bearish over the short term. So why did Zillow downgrade the forecast for national home prices so many times this year? And it's the same story that we've been telling you over this channel for the past few months. Home inventory, the number of homes on the market, has been rising. So we'll show you where we are in San Diego, what's actually happening in that market for single family homes and for condos. But the rise in active listings is fueling softer home price growth as greater supply provides more options and more bargaining power for buyers. Potential buyers are opting to remain renters for as long as affordability challenges suppress demand for home prices. And one of the affordability challenges, yes, is home prices. And the other big factor is going to be mortgage rates. We'll go over mortgage rates at the end of this and show you where they are right now, and also what 17 economists predicted for 2025, where they expected it to be by the end of the year. As I stated right here, slightly lower mortgage rates towards the end of the year could further aid affordability, but significant improvements appear unlikely. So still, home shoppers have some advantages. So if you're a buyer out there, you do have some advantages, meaning plenty of options, which give you more bargaining power. We've seen that with a lot of our buyers out there than any summer in the last 7 years. There's been a lot of competition, especially over these past few years. This one, yes, there's still homes. We are working with buyers right now where there are multiple offers on the property. Properties may have been sitting a little bit longer, or at some of these properties, maybe there's something going on in the background causing it to sit a little longer. But market times have been up, giving buyers a little bit more bargaining power than we have seen in the past. So where does San Diego fit into all this? Here's the one-year change in metro level home prices between June 2024 and June 2025. And before I tell you guys, I want you to make a guess in the comments down below. As you're looking in some of the northeast portions, a lot of these housing markets are up over the past year. Rochester 3.7%, Detroit, Milwaukee, Hartford. As you get into the southeast, this is where you have seen a little bit more softening in the market. Punta Gorda is down 11.9%. We have some agent friends out there just talking about the condo markets, how that's really slowed down for sure. Plus, when the hurricanes came through, it kind of slowed down that entire market. Austin down 5.8%, New Orleans down 1.2%. And then we get into the West Coast. San Diego is sitting year over year change from June 2024 through this year at down 2.4%. We're still up, so we peaked in 2022. That was our local peak. We're still 3% above that. So 2022, 2023, 2024, we've seen it kind of creep up, but this year it has seen a little bit of a drop. Look at some of these changes too. We're going to get into active inventory. This number is saying 6116 by the end of June. I'm going to show you where we actually are right now at the end of July. The new numbers won't drop until the probably next week's video, so stay tuned for that. But I dove into our MLS and I'll show you exactly what's happening. So, but look at 5 years ago, home prices have gone up just about 50% right here in San Diego. Even 4 years, 22%. Now the last few, from 3 years out, 2 years out, obviously 1 year out, but there was a little bit more moderation in there. And so the intro, that 1% drop was for all of the United States. Where does San Diego stand on that? So from June 2025 through June 2026, where is Zillow putting home prices right here in San Diego? And they're saying the home price forecast for San Diego is down another 1.5%. So even going into the next year, so from June this year to June next year, we will potentially see a little bit lower prices next summer. So Lance Lambert, what are his thoughts on the Zillow updated regional forecast? He's saying there's a great deal of bifurcation in the housing market right now. The map that we just looked at, where you're seeing a ton of different things happen in the Northeast, Southeast, in the Midwest, up here in the South, all those areas where you are seeing a bunch of different things happening. But With housing markets that have seen a greater shift in their supply demand equilibrium, so more supply, less demand is causing homes to sit. That's where we're seeing the inventory build right here in San Diego, as measured by active inventory growth. We're going to pop that into, and months supply. We're going to break that down here in a sec. Have seen a greater weakening. So while housing markets that have seen slower build in active inventory have seen a more gradual softening and deceleration in home prices. And as with all this stuff, take it with a grain of salt. It really comes down to your specific situation. What are your goals? What are you trying to do? As always, if you guys are thinking about making a move, you can hit us up, book a call right down below, or call, text, or email. All of our information is right down below because we got your back when making the move here in San Diego. But take this with a grain of salt. Zillow's forecast, any of the predictions we're looking at, they are just obviously that, predictions. Nobody knows what's happening. It's really important to keep an eye on what's happening week to week, honestly, day to day, even in the San Diego real estate market. But Lance's biggest pushback against the Zillow forecast model, and this has been the case for a few years now, is that it struggled to capture the regional variations that are fairly apparent when simply looking at absorption, active inventory, and month supply. So first off, active inventory, before we get into how much month supply, how many months supply there is of inventory, you always like to look at the market action index. Where do we stand on that? Are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? Right now we're in a slight seller's advantage still, sitting right at 40. Once we cross this 30 line, starts going into a buyer's market. This answers how's the market by comparing a rate of sales versus inventory. So inventory right here, this is for all of San Diego County. So like I said, it's gonna be different. North County, East County, downtown San Diego, South Bay, all these places are going to have different, even within those neighborhoods, it's going to be a little bit different. And we've seen this with clients right now as we're out and about seeing homes in different areas, different price points, different conditions of the home. All these are playing a factor into what's the best offer strategy, what's the market like, how much competition is there, all that kind of stuff. So inventory here in San Diego, this is for single family homes. I'll show you the condo market here in a sec. So 90-day average is still trending up, but I always like to look at what's happening right now. So the 7-day average, we peaked out here in July 4th at 3,625, had a slight dip kind of right after that week, and then we popped back up to 3515 this last week. So well above where we were last year, this July of 2578, well above 2023, and just slightly above 2022. So above any time where we have been over the past 5 years here. And now, when's this actually going to peak out? When are we going to see this kind of dip down like we do every year? Last year peaked in October. The previous year peaked in October/November. This year peaked in July. 2021 peaked in July. So is it going to peak in July? Are we going to see a downtrend? We're going to keep eyeing that and let you know what's going on. But as we see more homes, as we see them sit a little longer, it's adding to the inventory, which is adding to this. One big thing, like we mentioned, is mortgage rates, which we'll show you here shortly. And now here is the condo market. You can see it's a little bit softer than the single family housing market right here in San Diego. 90-day, and let's just look at the 70-day. And we've seen a decent drop off in inventory here, right here in San Diego. Not necessarily more home sales, but we're trying to figure out what's going on. Is it more cancellations, more expired listings? Are people taking their homes off the market that maybe they were overpriced, or just pricing it to where the market was going, not to where it's actually at, which was the strategy a few years ago? Or are there more actual condos selling? But the same thing with condo market, we're well above anywhere we've been over these past 5 years. Now let's take a look at months supply of inventory. Basically taking how they're calculating it here, it's just taking the current active listings divided by the number of pending sales, or the average pending sales over the past 12 months. So how quickly are homes selling? Let's just say like a car lot. If you had 100 homes and 25 are selling per month, you have a 4-month supply of inventory of cars. Same thing for houses. Numbers are a little bit different calculations. So depending on where you're going to look at this, it could definitely change, but usually we're in lows in December. And right now we are sitting at 3.5 months. Higher than any time over the past 5 years once again. So month supply is up. Now in general real estate thinking, once you get up to 6 months, anything over that, you should get into a buyer's market. Anything under that is a seller's market. If you're right around there, it's somewhat of a neutral market. I think that's kind of like the old school thinking. I think here it's a little bit different. I'm saying once it gets into that 4 to 5 month range, then you're starting to get it into a buyer's market. Anything under that, you're in a seller's market. So we're somewhere in the middle where sellers don't necessarily have the upper hand. There's still demand, there's still home selling. Buyers are starting to get a little bit more negotiating power. Homes are sitting a little longer. So is month supply going to go up? Are we going to continue to see that go up? Or are we going to see it drop? I'm thinking we're going to see it maybe tick up a little bit or continue sideways. Looking right here, there are 6,433 homes on the market right now. We're looking at single family homes, condos, and townhomes. So no land, no manufactured homes, all that kind of stuff, all in San Diego County. So let's take a look at updated mortgage rates right here. As we see, we're going into, this is Wednesday, dropped down a little bit at 6.75. So we're on a nice downward trend right here, but still hovering right around 7. Like we mentioned here, I think once we get into this 6.5 and below, we'll start seeing more buyers come into the market, and then definitely anywhere in the lower 6 range. But it's really going to depend on what happens at the Fed meeting today, what happens with the 10-year Treasury, uncertainty in the market, tariffs. All those factors are going to play into what happens with mortgage rates right here in San Diego. All right, now back to predictions. What to expect from mortgage rates in 2025. This was put out January 19th, 2025. So earlier this year. Among the 17 mortgage rate forecasts currently tracked by Resi Club, the average prediction was 6.33 by late 2025. So we're not quite there yet. Here's where all the predictions were during that time. They were either sent in, well, you could scroll down. This was December, published in December, in January. So kind of towards the end of 2024. And anywhere between Redfin saying we're going to end the year at 6.8 all the way down to the National Association of Realtors saying 5.8. And so this is what they said at the end of last year, or the beginning of this year, whenever they put their rates in here or their predictions in here. Redfin economists at the residential real estate brokerage are predicting the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate to average 6.8% in every quarter within this year. So next year was this year, 2025. And they wrote that mortgage rates could drop to the low 6% range if the economy weakens and or if plans for tariffs and tax cuts are dialed back. And as you go down, everybody has their own opinions on what's going on. National Association of Realtors, now they had so far a swing and a miss, but economists at the trade group forecast that the 30-year fixed mortgage will average 6%. Obviously, we're averaging nowhere near there. Quarter 1 was 5.9, quarter 2, 5.8, quarter 3, 5.8, quarter 4, 5.9, and same in 2026. Obviously, that one was missed. So is the San Diego real estate market going down? Are we going to see a big crash like we didn't see in 2008? Or are we just going to see a moderation in prices like we have been seeing? That's the most likely scenario, where we kind of go sideways for a little bit. If more home sellers come on, we're going to see obviously inventory rise, but if more buyers come in, that's going to keep prices kind of where they are. So we're going to keep an eye on all that right now and let you know exactly what's happening right here in the San Diego real estate market.